Looks like that worked.
Cool.
Great. Well, welcome anyone who's watching on YouTube. This is Friday the 13th of November 2020, and this is the Node Tooling Working Group meeting. So I guess we can just dive right into the agenda. If folks want to add their name who are in attendance, so we know who's here.
Will do.
Anyone have anything that they would consider an announcement that's not covered by the agenda?
No.
I might have one thing that I spent while I was traveling across the US the other week, 2 weeks ago. I got Node.js's test coverage working again. So the kind of cool new thing, I'm going to just share a link here. It actually now runs coverage every time someone commits to any branch. It doesn't comment on the PR, but if you're working on a PR, you can go out and check out what the coverage looks like without running it yourself locally. And it includes C and JavaScript coverage now. It used to only include JavaScript coverage. So if you're looking for a place to contribute to the project, our C++ coverage is pretty low, actually. So maybe a low-hanging fruit if someone felt like learning how to write some unit tests for some of our C code. Probably a good way to learn C, too.
Yeah, cool.
All right, that's it for me for announcements. First agenda item is recursive file system operations API. Any updates from you or Joe on this?
I'm just opening up this issue. It's the one I made.
Oh, this is the one specifically.
Yeah, I thought I added another one that was more of like a.
Oh, this is just a deep dive specific to issue.
Yeah,
You're talking about the.
Which we ended up doing, right?
Yes. I thought I added more of like a umbrella issue for recursive file system stuff, but it looks like I didn't, or I can't find it.
Remove the tooling agenda label from it. Kind of an action item we had that came out of that, though, is we wanted to plan partially what APIs we want to do next, right?
Yes, which we talked about in the meeting and we had some notes on. I think that was my intention, was to make an issue that included that list.
Cool. I feel like,
yeah,
oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I mean, I thought I had already done that, but I guess I didn't. So yeah, I can do that like today or tomorrow.
I would say I'm thinking from a product point of view, like probably less is more. Like I bet we can pick 3 or 4 that would be really impactful to make, like, would you improve the tooling experience? Like copy-r would be super useful to tons of people. But I don't feel like we need to do the whole file system. Like we could just say we don't intend to do the full file system API. Like yeah. I feel like there's some things where maybe it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, copy is definitely happening. Is that somehow not on the agenda?
Is it on its own item or just not? Maybe we rolled it up under, there's like chmod-r, which we can bring up, but I don't see copy. Do we actually have an issue open for copy?
I don't think that we do, I guess. So like I said, I can at least put up some issues for that so they end up on the agenda next time. The last,
I see an issue for it.
Yeah, I mean, the last we kind of talked, like Joe, you were talking about working on some kind of like an RFC for that, which I wanted to start on this week, but I didn't have a chance to, but I did kind of start looking at like I looked at the npm RFC repo. They have a pretty good template, it looked like. And I started like putting together some links to like, for example, the FS Extra implementation of recursive copy. So my intention was to spend some time this week, but maybe I'll do it this weekend to at least start writing an RFC.
Cool.
I wasn't really sure where I should put that either. Though. Where's the best place to like, do we want to collaborate on that in like an issue or a gist, or should I just do like a Google Doc?
Yeah, a hackmd file might be good too.
Yeah.
And if you want to meet next week or something and work on it together, I'd be happy to.
Sure. Yeah, I could try and like cobble together like a really rough outline or something, and then maybe we could kind of walk through that.
Sounds good.
Chris
Okay.
sent me a message out of the blue where he said that he basically said he'd been reading a document that talked about that security issue that Isaac had brought up, and for chmod and chown type stuff.
Mhm.
And one way to mitigate it, he says, is to something to do with file descriptors. I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to paste the text. This was the text I got from Chris Hiller out of the blue. So it might be worth looking into as you think about the function, as you think about the implementation, if you do decide you want to do those permission-based ones.
Okay. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into any of the details about like if this is going to be an issue with the recursive copy. I also, part of the reason I was looking at like FS Extras, I just wanted to see if they did in fact have like or like how they were implementing that functionality purely in JavaScript.
Yeah. I feel like copy-r will be another one that's like has a million little edge cases like rimraf. So using an existing one might be smart.
Well, so that's maybe a good thing to discuss right now. Like I did look at their implementation of it, and it's like, it's pretty long. It's like I think like 400 lines of code or something. Like you said, lots of like edge cases and things like that. So that. Yeah, that does kind of raise the question, right? Like, do we want to basically just copy that functionality in versus like writing something ourselves? I'm not really sure.
Might be a good way to engage with the FS Extra folks, because they were the people who were giving us tons of feedback on rimraf, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think that they were a couple of the maintainers, and I feel like we landed on a really good. I'm happy with where we landed with rimraf, so I feel like working with them again might be smart.
Yeah, well, maybe we put together like from them.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And then we can also discuss the possibility of like, yeah, just using the code they've already written. Or see if they have any concerns with that, or if they think it's better to start fresh or whatever.
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
This is exciting. I feel like it's like I've been kind of keeping a bit of an eye on the Node repo and have not been flagged on any RM related stuff. So I'm cautiously happy with how we landed on that feature. Like it's been.
Yeah, there hasn't been that. There was that one issue that someone raised. I don't think it's on here, about the way that we handle some of the flags.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I was also, oh yeah, here I have a link to it here. I'll put it in the chat, I guess. I was actually unsure how to handle this. Like at first I thought, oh, we can just update the docs. But then I also started thinking maybe longer term, we should make some of these flags work. Like I think the argument was, for example, we only use the retry mechanism when you're removing something recursively. But maybe that's a nice thing to have just in general. So then I thought maybe we implement some of that in the RM command, but then that got me wondering, like, do we maybe want to avoid like documenting that it doesn't work a certain way, then changing it to work a different way, and then changing the docs again? Like that churn is maybe just more confusing than just fixing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost rather not expose the. Well, I don't know the right answer. Like the big reason for the retry is purely that Windows behaves weird on RimRaf. So it'd feel like a little weird to me adding the feature to RM when that's not an issue so much on RM. Like the issue is that Windows gets an exception on an empty folder because of a race condition deleting files from a folder. So then like once in a while you need to run RM twice on the folder, which I think is like the motivation of a lot of the retry logic.
I think the argument was made like maybe it's useful like when dealing with like NFS. That was the one argument that Rich made.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sure that that's actually like applicable. Like maybe that's not really an issue.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like so maybe it's just something we discuss more.
Yeah, maybe we can just put that on the agenda for next time or something. I did initially look at this, and then I kind of, like I said, kind of thought about it a bit and realized like I don't actually know what the correct way to handle this is.
Cool. Okay, if we move, I've got a kind of hard stop at 1:30-ish today, so
okay, yeah, sure.
See how far we can get through the agenda. I don't want to rush it, but if we're good with that.
I mean, I think put the voice. I've had so many meetings today, so I'm
yeah. Yeah. What is that, Joe?
Do you want me to put the label on this issue for agenda, or?
Yeah, why don't we take like some of the, why don't we consolidate some of the recursive file stuff just into the one issue that's like come up with a plan for the recursive stuff, and get rid of some of the agenda items for like chmod-r and stuff maybe. I think that'd be the smart way to go. Moving on, I feel like there is no real champion for foreign function interface right now, right?
Yeah, that's kind of been the case the last few meetings.
I mean, so Brian English opened it. So I kind of don't want to remove the tag without him here, so maybe leave it for now. Just try to convince him to join a call again soon. ESM reloading module graph. Do you know what? This is a good one. I don't know if it actually solves the problem, but just looking here, and sorry, I'm finding some sample code here. Oh crap, I'm looking in the wrong place. Where did I put that util? I was playing around with this new data structure called an iterable weak map. It kind of gives you some of the properties that I think people were hoping for from having an immutable data structure, which was like that it doesn't hold references. Well, maybe I don't fully understand. Every time we kind of start talking about replacing module entries, one of the reasons that comes up is that V8 won't let you replace module entries, which I don't really understand the ins and outs of it. I'm talking about the agenda item ESM module reloading and module graph number 51.
Yeah, I'm also not super well versed in that area.
I know Chris Hiller had a prototype he worked on with someone where they, I think, would have been leaking module names, but they were able to kind of replace them real time or something. So you could have something resembling like, you know, what's the name of that library? I'm blanking today. Like just basically being able to replace, like require spy kind of thing, like whatever that require module is called.
Proxy Choir, is that the one you're
Proxy Choir, that's what I'm blanking on, yeah. So I think Chris had like a prototype that was able to do that for ESM. So
You want me to message him and see where that might be or something, or?
I think that would be worthwhile, yeah. Like I think if we can show it working really well, and it feels like something, there should be a userland tool that does this. If you delivered it, it would probably drive more people using ESM. And we've just been sitting on this, not doing it forever. So, but I feel like we could just build a prototype. It feels like it does fit into the tooling agenda to me, because like it's very much like a test people use. It's a methodology people use a lot in testing that people don't have a clear picture of how to do in ESM today. So that's a little bit of a shortcoming.
Yeah.
So I would like to understand the prototype Chris was working on, maybe with this. I think it was someone else on the Mocha project who was experimenting with it, maybe.
I messaged him. He looks like he's online, so we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, maybe we could just not get rid of this agenda item, but see what that prototype looks like.
What did you say it was similar to? Proxy module?
A Proxy Choir, it's called, which is like a way to replace something at require time instead of like mocking it using something like sign-in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, he just sent me something.
Yeah. Maybe paste that in the notes and we can update the issue with it.
Yeah, here, I'll drop it in the chat as well.
I'm curious. Oh yeah, it uses like the transform hooks. Gotcha. Haven't played with these too much.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's worth adding to the issue maybe, or maybe we make a new issue about like, build either like trying out one of these libraries if this is a thing that's been published, or building some.
Yeah. I mean, if it's working well in userland, maybe maybe we could just put a pin in this work, right? Ooh, and maybe it could use weak references so that it's not actually a memory leak, and that would be a way to get around one of the main concerns we had, which was that you'd be leaking these modules when they were not used any longer. Of course, as long as you're not holding reference to them, you don't even need to use a weak map. Like, should just be garbage collected. Cool. Oh, no. I know the problem. The problem is that it will be in the module cache, which is immutable. So like if you were like mocking 30 different things, you're going to have 30 different objects in the
you leak the
cache
implementation every time.
You'll leak the entire class you're mocking, I think.
Yeah. Which I could definitely see being a big issue for testing. Like we've been fighting some issues where we have unit tests that are leaking memory, and then the more tests you had, the more memory the node process uses to run them all. So yeah, I could definitely see that potentially being a problem.
Okay. So what's the action item there? I guess it's read a bit more into that library, and if it turns out there's like good options in userland, maybe we can drop it from our agenda. Better way to, these are the ones that we were saying, these hooks here were ones we were saying Stephen Bellinger was even on the call last week, and he's said he's continuing to look into this occasionally. And I think I had an action item to talk to him about it. what is he? He's quarred, right? On GitHub. Nope, he's not quarred.
I think it's QARD, right?
Sounds right. Yeah, QARD. Okay, there we go. And we need to, I'd love to get these agendas auto-generated by like Hackpad or something. It's these docs end up looking a little janky by the time you put some notes in them.
That is in progress, right? Just made a PR.
Oh, cool.
I looked at it the other day, though. It's waiting on some other functionality that they're trying to get in there for I forget where he ported that from, like the package maintenance group or something. So he has a note in the PR that says like, yeah, waiting on this one thing to be fixed. But then it sounds like it will basically, yeah, like auto-generate the agenda in HackMD.
Cool. Anyone else have anything? Like the reason I was interested in the hook stuff, and Corey, when he was joining more often, was interested, was that we have to do this. We do this with some of our test coverage stuff to inject variables and whatnot as a sub process happens, so that you collect coverage for the sub process as well as the top level process. And there, I think there was just we do this for test coverage in Node itself. And we do it kind of with some hacky approaches in NYC, that old test coverage library I used to work on. So it would be kind of neat if there was a blessed way of doing this. And so I think the idea was just that we make sure we talk to Stephen Bellinger and make sure, if possible, our use case is covered if he does start to take on some of this work. I don't know, coverage is working super well for me in Node right now. So like, I'm not feeling like I'm blocked by anything around this for that to kind of work. We can move along then. I did a bunch of work over the last few weeks on source maps. I was kind of, after our whole adventure with RimRef, I kind of wanted to try to get the experimental flag removed from source maps. So the main piece of work I did, which is kind of cool. Let me find it here. One other thing I fixed here. Let me actually find it. No, where the hell did I land that? All right, so basically, I'm not seeing it immediately, but it doesn't matter. I refactored our source map support so that it now works for the one edge case where it didn't work, which is what if an exception happened before your program actually finished its first tick. So if there was, so if your module uses TypeScript or something, and then fails before it actually gets to the next tick of execution, then there was no way for us to track source maps, which now there is. So that fixes one of those edge cases. And we also had a bug where we weren't parsing Webpack properly. That's its own special URLs. And then finally, super excited about this. Well, hopefully get some traction. Finding the issue. There's one other really finicky bug that is that source maps don't, if you're using Webpack or Uglify, source maps don't give you the stack. There's no way for us to go from the stack trace back to the original function name, because the function name, we have the line and column position of where the exception happened, but we don't have the line and column position of where the enclosing function exists that the exception happened within. So we can't show it in the stack trace. So I just started a conversation with folks on V8 to see if we could expose that information from V8, which should mean without any like backflips or parsing or anything weird, we should be able to give a better stack trace than we have today when you're using TypeScript or Uglify, Webpack, anything with source maps.
That sounds nice.
So yeah, like I feel like if we can crush all the bugs like that, I'm like kind of bullish on calling it not experimental maybe before Node 16 is why I'm doing this. That's kind of what I'm hoping. So
Cool.
All right, I'm talking too much. Moving on to the last one. Argument parsing. I don't know why this is the end of our agenda because this is a really exciting one.
But I pulled down Chris's branch and am processing some of the blocking comments in the PR so that I can open up a new PR, make sure those comments are brought over to the new PR, and then start to address them and try to get that over the finish line.
Nice. I'm going to be very supportive of. I always felt we'd reached a good point and would be supportive of whichever way we went with it. So I'll just come in and be supportive of whatever PR you make.
Cool.
I thought we were 95% of the way there.
Yeah, it seemed like it. It seemed like some of the blocking was just really opinionated stuff, and
yeah,
whatever we decide, we'll.
Yeah, I think like we can open that PR back up and just really like concentrate on pulling back in the folks who we hadn't reached consensus with. And then
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think there were 3 blocking comments. So I will figure that out. Bring them over to a new PR.
Awesome.
The best one was around the exception handling.
What's that, Ian?
I think the biggest one was around the exception handling, like throw or return an errors object. I think that was, from what I remember, like the sort of the biggest outstanding issue where there was kind of, people in both camps.
Yeah, before I open the PR and bring all that stuff over, I'll maybe ping the group in Slack and just reiterate where I think we're at, and we can discuss a little bit and position it however we want.
An early look.
Yeah.
Awesome. I feel like that feature would be super exciting. The stuff you're doing with recursive FS is super exciting, and then like I'd be stoked if I could get the stack trace stuff to a more mature point, and then like pretty good. Delivered some pretty cool stuff as a group in 2020 at that point, which is kind of exciting. Awesome. Well, hate to rush the meeting, but I think I have like 2 meetings that overlap with it, so I think I'm going to go join one of the other ones. If that's okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Cool. Cheers.